Following a good bit of criticism about how exactly she will pay for Medicare for all, Senator Elizabeth Warren says she will release her own plan on how to finance that single-payer system.
Team Rising is here to weigh in. Daria Dawson is Democratic strategist. Holly Turner is the Republican strategist, formerly with the U.S. Small Business Administration. So we got Elizabeth Warren. She gave a speech recently. She's talking about releasing the new plan. Let's take a listen to that.
And over the next few weeks, to put out a plan that talks about specifically the cost of Medicare for all and specifically how we pay for it. You know, right now, the cost estimates on Medicare for all vary by trillions and trillions of dollars. And the different revenue streams for how to fund it, there are a lot of them. So this is something I've been working on for months and months, and it's got just a little more work until it's finished.
Well, this is an interesting thing, Holly, because she was hammered on that stage for not refusing to say she would raise middle-class taxes. A lot of the analysis, I mean, because with Bernie Sanders, she keeps saying, I'm on the Bernie Sanders plan. Bernie's like, yeah, it's going to go up. Overall costs will go down. She refused to say that, basically. She kept saying costs will go down. Now she's going to release her own plan. This is, I mean, this could put her in a tight spot because she might ultimately have to say, yes, the taxes are going to go up.
Right. And I mean, and kudos to Bernie for coming out and just being honest about it. And really, this is something that, I mean, obviously, as a Republican, I do not want anything to do with this, but the least I can ask for is for the candidates that are promoting it to be transparent about it. And you look at the European models, I mean, every class, I mean, no matter how much you're making, you are taxed a great deal of money to be able to afford some of the social services they have over there. So it's going, again, if she comes out and says, okay, actually they are going to be taxed, it's not that they're going to be taxed that's going to be the problem, it's that she wasn't honest about it at the beginning, and it's just going to erode her credibility.
Of course, all those countries, we should point out, pay a lot less in healthcare than we pay here when you look at total healthcare costs and spending. But she was facing heat over this. Not only every single debate, the moderators asked her the same question. Right, interview after interview, journalists were asking her the same question, and then she had people like Mayor Pete piling on. And I think the issue was less exactly how she'd pay for it and more that she looked kind of evasive in trying to answer this question.
Well, I think the one thing that we could see at this last debate is when you're at top, people are going to come for you. And that's exactly what happened. I don't think she actually handled it well when folks came at her. And it definitely made me think about what could this look like in the general. But you have to answer questions.
I mean, that's the problem.
She looked very calculated.
But some maybe too calculated, because I think at the same time, you know, being genuine counts. And I do think that it might come back and like bite her because she hasn't been transparent about this. Look, all these plans that she has, which is great, you know, if you actually care about plans. But, you know, I have to quote Dan Rather real quick, because I follow him on Twitter, like, how many of these presidential plans actually become law when someone becomes president? You know, so it's good to kind of get your base behind you and show what you can do. But at the same time, if you're talking about something that could benefit the middle class, then you need to let the middle class know what it is that they're going to be in.
The thing is about the plans. Yeah, the thing is about plans, right, is that it's about trust. It's about, like, she will actually, like, look, nobody thinks that these things are wholesale going to pass. What they're like is, she's going to fight for these types of things. This is what she's rooted in, and it's about trust. So overall, over and over again on Medicare for All, it's more that how are they supposed to trust, people who really believe in this, how are they supposed to trust that she's actually going to do it when she gets into office? Because Bernie, I mean, wrote the damn bill, right? And then she has a plan for everything, except on health care, which is the signature #1 issue that Democratic voters care about.
Right. And I don't understand the hesitance of many candidates to just agree with your fellow candidate. Like, why can't she just sign off on Bernie's deal and just say, you know what, Bernie's plan is it? They just always feel like they have to differentiate themselves, and but it comes across as being a politician, and people just don't like it.
Yeah, so it's going to be really interesting to see how she plays this, because on the right, you have the Mayor Petes and the Joe Bidens who are going after counter for you're going to raise middle class taxes. On the left, you have people who say, well, you say you're with Bernie, but are you really, right? You called this a framework. You didn't used to support single payer. So to Sagar's point, like, okay, you say you're with us now, but it feels like you may be leaving yourself some wiggle room to change some of the details on us and maybe not ultimately put this first and foremost in a potential Warren administration.
You know, I think it's okay. We're talking about now October. This campaign now has been going on. Excuse my language, for like a really long time, and we still have months to go.
No FCC, you're good.
But and I do think it's okay for candidates to change the nuts and bolts of a plan, but not necessarily change like the overall, you know, are you for Medicare for all or are you not? But what does that Medicare for all look like? Is it Medicare for all? Is it, you know, private insurance could be okay? And I do think, you know, like you said, healthcare is such a fundamental issue for the Democratic Party that there may not be, it may not be acceptable to keep flip-flopping, as people might want to call it later.
On this note, so really for the first, so Senator Sanders had the biggest rally of the primary election season for him or any other candidate this weekend, 25,000 plus people in Queensbridge Park, endorsed by AOC. It was a big deal. But also, this is what caught my eye. For the first time, his campaign co-chair, Nina Turner, really laid out in very stark terms how she sees the difference between Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. Let's listen to a little bit of that.
And when I say, Queens, that there's nobody quite like Senator Bernard Sanders, I mean that. We got some folks in mainstream and the neoliberal side who really can't understand the difference. But I'm going to break this down for you. There are many copies. There are people who didn't have the same guts and the same courage as Senator Bernie Sanders to run in 2016. There are some people who sat on the sideline when it was hard. There was only one person who stood up to the establishment, and his name is Bernard Sanders. So, yeah, there are many copies, but there is only one original. I don't know why you would take the copy, baby, when you can have the original. He didn't vote to give President Trump more money for wars. Hello, somebody. He voted against these rotten trade deals that steal wealth from our communities. There is only one Senator Bernard Sanders, so let the record reflect that there is only one, just in case folks don't understand that. Being similar is not being the same. Come on, somebody.
Woo, that is
amazing.
The hardest shot across the bow at Elizabeth. That's the funny thing. You got to know what you're. I mean, it started to become more overt, but you know, the military budget. She was hit very hard on that from the progressive left about voting for that for President Trump about the trade deals.
Not in this clip because she goes on a ways longer. She talks about a framework, which is referencing Warren's comments about Medicare for all. But I think the bottom line is, look, Senator Sanders was there. Right, this is the case that Nina's making. Senator Sanders was there, and Elizabeth Warren is a copy, and she's not the same. So, I mean, do you think, Daria, that this is kind of a turning point in how they approach that rivalry with Senator Warren?
I mean, they have to.
Yeah.
She is taking away some of his base. So it may be smart, but it may also backfire. Just because you're the first doesn't mean you need to be the last.
Yeah, I think the real thing is, right, Holly, is that it's a zero-sum game. There's no love here. Like, if you're in it to win it, then you gotta go after her. I mean, it's really about the fight for the dwindling voters, particularly as Biden continues to implode. There's gonna be a lot more voters out there. Polls show that the second choice for Biden voters is Bernie Sanders, but he's going to have to fight for every single one of those votes. And this is exactly kind of what you have to do when Elizabeth Warren is basically the presumptive front runner amongst the media.
Yeah. But the way he's doing it is smart, right? It wasn't him saying all those things. He's got a surrogate out there saying it. And it makes a big difference in voters' minds. Like, if they don't see you trashing fellow Democrats and it's somebody else, they do not attribute it to you. I don't care if those people are on the payroll or not. In their minds, it's not you saying it. So very smart. He should continue to do that. Let some of the lower level candidates attack her as well, and he should stay out of it and just continue down.
I'll tell you, 2 months ago, you try to get a Bernie person to say something like that, forget it. They would clam up and they would maybe talk about it off the air. But now, to see that on the stage, That's a big deal.
I mean, the stakes are higher for them.
Right.
You know, his health is now in questionability. You know, you roll out a young
I think it kind of put those concerns to bed in a way that's
right. You run out a young congresswoman who has a great following to endorse him. You have Nina Turner. Nina Turner, I don't know why I was about to say, I was combining two people's names, who pretty much was a great opening act. Reading it, I was like, very impressed with the LL Cool J references when you're right there in Queens. And that is the whole point. I think we're going to get to this later about why endorsements and surrogates.
Nina's a secret weapon for him. There's no doubt about it. All right, ladies, stick with us. More with Team Rising right after this.